America doesn't cut tariffs easily. In fact, tariffs have been one of Washington's sharpest weapons for decades. They are not just about economics. They are about power, leverage, and control. For years, the United States has used tariffs to punish its rivals and pressure its partners. Yet, in a remarkable turn of events, India has forced America to retreat, to cut tariffs, and to recognize a new reality. This moment is not just about trade numbers. It is about a deeper shift in the global balance of power. To understand the weight of this change, we need to go back. For decades, India's trade with the United States was shaped by inequality. America set the terms, and India, like many developing countries, was expected to comply. In the 1990s, as India opened its economy, American corporations saw a goldmine of opportunity. They wanted access to India's growing market, but without giving India equal treatment in return. Washington maintained tariffs on key Indian exports, steel, textiles, pharmaceuticals, while demanding easier access for American companies. The message was clear: America calls the shot. But fast forward to today, and that equation no longer holds. India is not the same country it was in the 1990s or even the 2000s. With a GDP growing faster than almost any major economy, India has transformed into a powerhouse of manufacturing, services, and innovation. It has become the fifth largest economy in the world, and within this decade it is projected to surpass Japan and Germany. The consumer base of over 1 billion people is not just an attraction, it is leverage. Companies from Silicon Valley to Wall Street know that if they don't get into India, their competitors will, and that is where America's tariffs suddenly became a liability. When Washington imposed higher tariffs on Indian goods, the expectation was that New Delhi would cave under pressure. That strategy has worked against smaller nations, but with India, it backfired. Prime Minister Narendra Modi doubled down on Atmanirbhar Bharat, the self-reliant India campaign. The government poured resources into domestic manufacturing, incentivized startups, and built alternative supply chains that reduced dependence on the West. Indian companies found new buyers in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, and rather than weakening India, the tariffs actually pushed it toward greater resilience. American corporations started panicking. From Apple to Boeing to Walmart, U.S. companies realized that tariffs were cutting into their own opportunities. Apple, for example, had already begun shifting part of its iPhone manufacturing to India to reduce reliance on China. Boeing and Lockheed wanted defense deals with India's military. Walmart had invested billions into Flipkart to capture India's e-commerce market. All of these companies needed New Delhi on their side, and so, one by one, American CEOs began pressuring the White House to rethink the tariff war. Inside Washington, the conversation shifted. Was it worth losing the Indian market just to play hardball on tariffs? The answer was clear: no. India had too much to offer, and America couldn't risk alienating it at a time when China was already challenging U.S. influence globally. So the Biden administration quietly prepared to roll back tariffs, not because of goodwill, but because of necessity. But while this economic drama was unfolding, another layer of geopolitics was at play. Russia and China, two of America's biggest rivals, were quietly supporting India's assertiveness. Russia has long been one of India's most trusted partners. Even in the face of Western sanctions, Moscow continued to supply New Delhi with discounted oil, advanced weapons, and diplomatic backing. When the West tried to isolate Russia after the Ukraine conflict, India refused to join. Instead, it increased its purchases of Russian oil, ensuring stable energy supplies while saving billions of dollars. This act not only strengthened India's economy, but also showed Washington that New Delhi would not bend to Western pressure. China, meanwhile, played a more complicated role. Though India and China have border disputes and military tensions, Beijing still sees India's rise as a useful counterweight against American dominance. China has long advocated for a multipolar world, a world where no single country, especially not the U.S., can dictate terms. In this vision, India's empowerment works in China's favor. Every time India forces America to adjust, China silently benefits from the erosion of Washington's global leverage. This created a strange triangle. America wanted India as a partner to counterbalance China. But if Washington pressed too hard with tariffs and restrictions, New Delhi could tilt further toward Moscow and Beijing. India was suddenly holding all the cards. Modi's strategy has been one of careful balance. Unlike many leaders who are forced to choose between East and West, he has positioned India as the indispensable power that everyone needs but no one can fully control. With Washington, Modi emphasizes democracy, technology cooperation and defense partnerships. With Moscow, he secures cheap oil, arms and a reliable energy lifeline. With Beijing, despite border clashes, he keeps trade channels open and engages in forums like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The message is clear: India will not be tied down to one camp, it will engage with all, on its own terms. That is why America's decision to cut tariffs is not an act of generosity but of recognition. Washington recognized that India is not a junior partner anymore. It is not a nation that can be bullied into submission. It is a power that must be respected, courted, and engaged. The U.S. realized that it cannot afford to push India into the arms of Russia and China. This shift has deep implications. For decades, the United States relied on economic tools to maintain global dominance. Sanctions against Iran, tariffs against China, restrictions on Russia. These were all meant to show the world that Washington's word carried weight. But with India, those tools are losing their edge. Tariffs were supposed to weaken New Delhi's economy, but instead they strengthened its resolve. Sanctions were supposed to scare India away from Russia, but instead they pushed the two closer together. Pressure was supposed to divide India and China, but instead Beijing quietly supported India's defiance. America's playbook is no longer working, and that signals a broader decline in U.S. leverage. Meanwhile, India is rewriting the rules of engagement. It is no longer asking for a seat at the table, it is building its own table. Whether it's through leading the global south, strengthening BRICS, or expanding trade with Africa and Latin America, India is shaping a new order where the West is just one of many players, not the only power. Consider the symbolism of the recent tariff rollback. In the past, it was India pleading with America for trade concessions. Today, it is America making the concessions, not because it wants to, but because it has to. That single shift tells us more about the changing world order than any speech or summit. For Washington, the stakes are high. If the U.S. fails to keep India close, it risks losing not just a market but a partner that is critical in countering China's rise. But for India, the opportunity is even greater. By carefully balancing relationships with America, Russia, and China, it gains the power to shape global decisions. This is why Modi's diplomacy is often called the multi-alignment strategy. It is not about choosing sides, it is about making all sides choose India. And as this new reality unfolds, the world is watching. Will America accept India as an equal partner, or will it keep trying to control the narrative? Will India continue to force America's hand, or will Washington adapt to this new balance of power? One thing is certain: the age of India being sidelined is over. It is no longer a background player, it is at the center of the global stage. This isn't just about tariffs. It is about respect, sovereignty, and power. America has been forced to recognize that India cannot be dictated to. Russia and China, in their own ways, have strengthened India's hand, and Modi has seized the moment to elevate India from a regional power to a global one. The tariffs may be gone, but the message remains. The world must adjust to India's rise. So what happens next? Will America continue to compromise, or will it try new ways to keep its influence over India? Will New Delhi lean more heavily on Russia and China, or will it keep walking the fine line of balance? These are the questions shaping the future of global politics. But one thing is undeniable. With each move, India is proving that it is no longer the country that bends under pressure. It is the country that applies pressure. It is the country that shapes outcomes. And in the great game of geopolitics, that makes all the difference. Tell me what you think. Has America already lost its leverage over India, or will Washington find a new strategy to regain influence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the power shifts reshaping our world.